Thank you for watching NBC2 News Now, your 24-hour news and weather station in Southwest Florida. I'm Chris Gilmore. Here are the top stories in the news at this hour. New information today about the murder investigation of Dr. Teresa Sievers. NBC2 has discovered that 5 separate life insurance policies have been taken out on Teresa, totaling nearly $5 million. New documents show detectives spent countless hours looking at cell phone records, GPS car history, conducting interviews, searching for clues to put the pieces together. NBC2's Terry Hornstein has the latest.
It's the first glimpse of Mark Sievers this morning, less than 24 hours after we learned shocking new evidence in the murder of his wife, Dr. Teresa Sievers. More than 1,000 pages in court documents released Tuesday detail the tragic and brutal death of Dr. Sievers inside her Bonita Springs home.
I mean, we're just totally shocked that it would happen in our neighborhood.
One of the most crucial new pieces of information, investigators believe Mark Sievers was involved in the murder.
I mean, let's face it, if something like this happens, who are the first people they look at,
The documents also outline GPS evidence, which shows Curtis Wainwright, the childhood friend of Mark Sievers, and another man, Jimmy Rogers, mapped out a trip from Missouri to Bonita Springs in the days leading up to the doctor's death. Both are accused in the murder. In detail, detectives say Mark Sievers and Wright communicated using burner phones and using code words. A witness even telling investigators Mark Sievers hired Rogers and Wright to kill his wife so he could collect on several life insurance policies, adding up to more than $4 million.
But money is the root of all evil.
The document also describes Dr. Sievers' death. Evidence shows she was bludgeoned 17 times, a bloody hammer found next to her body. With the new information accusing Mark Sievers of being involved, many are watching and waiting to see what happens next.
He needs a good lawyer right now. I just feel bad for the children.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Mark Sievers has not been charged. We have reached out to DCF to see if they've opened up an investigation. Wright remains behind bars in Lee County. Rogers is serving time on an unrelated charge. He will be extradited to Lee County to face charges at the end of that sentence. NBC2 has confirmed there was a lot of trouble in the marriage. The IRS also recently put a $32,000 lien on the Sievers home because of unpaid back taxes. The IRS says Teresa and Mark failed to pay nearly $32,000 in personal income taxes in 2013. We spoke to Sievers' attorney by phone.
Mr. Sievers is still grieving his loss of his wife and the circumstances of it, and he's trying to raise 2 young girls on his own.
Mark has until the end of 2024 to either pay that $30,000 or contest it. Democratic presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton is speaking in Orlando. Crowds started lining up early today to hear the former Secretary of State. Clinton is expected to talk about her plan to defeat ISIS. NBC2 chief political correspondent Dave Elias is there, so count on continuing updates this evening on NBC2. Just days after the head of Chicago's police department said he had the support of the mayor in the wake of what was videotaped police killing of a teenage suspect, Mayor Rahm Emanuel has now fired him, and protesters say Emanuel should also step down. NBC2's Stephanie Gosk reports.
The Attorney General for the state of Illinois says that the trust between the Chicago Police Department and the public is broken, and that is why she is calling for a federal civil rights investigation into the entire department. Came on a day when the mayor of this city fired his top cop and called for a task force to look at police abuse and accountability. But this problem is not going away for the city of Chicago. There is another family who is calling for the release of another video. You have the mother of Ronald Johnson, who was shot and killed by police 8 days before Laquan McDonald. She says that there's video that proves her son was unarmed and shot in the back. The police account says he had a gun and that he threatened police. The law department in this city telling the Chicago Tribune that they are reevaluating whether that video should be released early. Regardless, there is a hearing scheduled on December 10th where a judge may have to decide it for them. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, Chicago.
The search for a killer continues in Fort Myers, and now police are asking for your help. They're looking for this car. It was snapped by a surveillance camera in connection to a Thanksgiving Day shooting. It's a black 2-door Chevy Monte Carlo with red pinstripes and no window tint. It was seen leaving Barden Street near Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard shortly after the crime. 24-year-old Samson Morency was killed outside a home there. No arrests have been made. A Lee County man who admits to killing his neighbor was just sentenced to 22 months, but for a different crime. You might remember John Marshall. He shot his neighbor on Bukelia, put his dead body in the back of his pickup truck, and drove to his attorney's office in Fort Myers. In a separate case from last year, Marshall ran over a man with his car during a dispute over a parking spot. The victim was hospitalized and spent the last year arguing with insurance for medical costs and waiting on the court system for the case to come to a close.
And it's slow, but I was hoping to get it done a little sooner than this. I have no idea why he did what he did, but it's ruined my life for the last year, and physically and mentally.
Robert Helfrich was seriously injured in a car crash more than 30 years ago. He claims this recent attack added to his troubles. Marshall is serving 22 months in prison and is required to complete anger management. Neighbors in the River Park community claim Naples police are spying on them. NBC2 discovered cameras hidden in high voltage boxes, and neighbors want them taken down. Residents tell us they saw technicians installing something almost a decade ago. When they asked what they were told it was something that would help with cell phone reception.
I said, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yes." I said, "So that's not a camera?" Because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, that's a camera.
County commissioners say there was a lot of illegal activity going on in the neighborhood. They used a federal grant to pay for surveillance cameras. The city says neighbors were involved in the conversation to install the cameras, but the neighborhood watch group said it was never informed. The Cuban government says it's bringing back a travel permit on some doctors, requiring them to get permission to leave the country. The government blames a brain drain on the U.S. and says health professionals in specialties that have experienced a lot of immigration in recent years will now be required to get permission from health ministry officials in order to leave the country. On Monday, a meeting between U.S. and Cuban negotiators addressed Cuban migration, which is at its highest levels in 20 years. Many Cuban doctors cite low pay and poor working conditions for leaving. Remember, you can count on NBC2 for the latest information from around the world running at the bottom of your screen. Also, you can log on 24 hours a day to NBC-2.com.
Stay connected, on air, online, and on the go. Everywhere you are, count on NBC2 first.